March 2nd, workout breakdown, Urban Legend training week number 2. I will go over that in detail, but I'll start with the regular workout. March we're switching over to strength. So our focus is moving into strength. Not necessarily max strength and not your foundational strength, that 8 to 12 rep count range that you guys are so used to. But moving closer to like 5 to 8. And that doesn't mean every single lift is going to be 5 to 8, but I'm certainly going to do my best to weave that in. The biggest caveat with this level of lifting in terms of the weight and the load externally is technique. And this is one of those scenarios where if you don't feel like you're comfortable with a particular lift, it makes absolutely no sense at all for you guys to feel like you have to load up, especially to the 5 to 7, 5 to 8 rep count range type of load. If you don't think you can stabilize through it, if you don't think your line of motion is on point, if you just feel like there's anything off, this is a scenario where you definitely need to back off the weight, maybe up the rep count back to like 8 to 10, 10 to 12, and feel okay doing that if the circumstances call for it. So I'm just going to throw that out there right now. Again, the whole month is going to be geared this direction. Like February, it doesn't mean in February that we weren't going to lift. We still did all the appropriate amount of lifting, although lots of arguments and debates about that. But in March, although we're leaning towards the heavier stuff, and it does force us to allocate our time more towards the lifting, it doesn't mean we're not going to do the conditioning, and we certainly will. So after this block, if you guys didn't already know this, typically 3 lifts I allocate about 24 minutes to because of the unknown here. You guys have 30 minutes in this first block. So like I said, we've got to allocate that flexibility of time to scenarios like these. So we will have lesser time for the conditioning, but I assure you we will still get it in. And this chest press you can see right here, I said X sets with a 90-second rest. So it's X sets because I don't think anybody knows these weights. And I put roughly 70% here. Again, that is very rough. There are some people that are definitely over 70%, and there will be some people maybe not as comfortable that'll be lesser than 70%. But either way, it's a lot heavier than your typical 50 to 60%. So I need people to kind of, instead of guessing in the dark, kind of ramp themselves up to this 5 to 7 rep count range. And then once you find it, you're going to do 5 sets of that weight. So obviously that's going to require a little bit more time allocated to it. And then the incline press and the incline fly press are both required with pauses. That naturally or organically is going to slow all of these sets down. You are paying attention to the technical side even more finite than you normally would because again, when you're coming out of a pause with that deficit, it makes it not just that much more technical, but you have to be in order to be safe there with all these movements, especially the fly press right there. So all in all, it's just going to require a little bit more time that a lot of times we can allocate towards other things. And like I said, we're still going to do the conditioning pieces. So you got 8 rounds here to accumulate 12 or 1,600 meters running. The first minute of each of these rounds will be a run, and the second minute will be 7 ball high pulls. And typically speaking, from a deeper level, pushing and pulling goes really well together. So on chest days, I really like to do something that has pulling involved, whether that's rowing or here just the high pulls. But either way, it gets you out of that same line of motion. And it just contrasts the chest pressing really well. But either way, it might take you 5 rounds to do this. It could take you all 8 rounds. Maybe you don't finish it in 8 rounds if you're aiming for 1,600. Totally depends, but you will have the entire first minute of the C-mount to do so. Now, Urban Legend training, which I think is a lot of people's probably top priority here for anybody participating in this. Again, it is open to anybody. I can't reiterate that enough. There is a lot of gray area in here that us and the trainers all talked about in grave detail a week prior here. So I'm not going to be able to answer everybody's questions on this video, but the volume is very high. And keep in mind, Urban Legend is a very specific workout. Just like, if you were to run a marathon, it's a very specific thing. You need to run a lot to get used to a marathon. Just like Urban Legend, any other specific event, you need to trade specifically for it. So, like I said, lots of redundancy here, super high volume these first 2 weeks, and really the volume is never really going to go away. We're just going to kind of move things around a little bit as we move our way through these 8 weeks. But you're looking at 5 by 20 reps of push-ups. That's 100 reps. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, you're doing 100 push-ups. Like, that's a lot of push-ups for a lot of people. And I just urge you guys, if you are participating in this, don't get demoralized. Don't put pressure on yourself. No anxiety. Like, we're just working here. Treat this Urban Legend training as an additive and just get through as much of it as you can if you are participating in it. Just know that at the end of the day, this is setting not only a great foundation for the actual event, but if you are somebody that's done it in the past, I am 100% confident this will absolutely help you when it comes to doing Urban Legend next time, or maybe even when October rolls around. So 100 push-ups. You're gonna kind of work from the high bench all the way down to the floor, and then back up to the top of the high bench. 20 from each phase of the push-up there, each variation of the push-up. 60 chest press. This is where some of that gray area starts to come into play. These chest presses aren't marked with percentages or weights, right? So your goal is to be one weight class heavier for the most part than what your goal tier weight is. So if you're aiming females for 30s, then you want to try this with 35s. Do as many as you can with the 35s. Scale down to 30s when you're doing 2, 3, 4 at a time. In Urban Legend, it's not very it's not super efficient to be doing 2, 3, 4 reps at a time. For anybody that's done it knows that, right? So we want to set ourselves up and get used to doing the sets of 8, 10, 12, 15 at a time. And again, if you get yourself caught using a higher weight than your goal tier weight, in doing 2 or 3 reps, then at some point we're not really helping our ability come the Urban Legend. So I would say go a tier heavier than you're aiming. Hopefully you can get a couple chunks out, and then once you guys kind of it catches up to you, you can drop back down a weight class to the actual tier weight, under the assumption we're strong enough to even use those weights to start with. A lot of us might be at 25s instead of 30s because we're just working our way up to the Urban Legend, which is completely fine. That's the whole point of this. But again, there's going to be a lot of gray area in these weights right here, which is why I left it blank. 2 rounds, 50 calories bike, 800 meter run, 20 belly burpees, right? So the volume is high, and that is the whole point. We are trying to be, again, specific and kind of overcome the amount of volume that's going to occur in the Urban Legend. And there is no flexibility in that. It wouldn't make any sense to give you guys flexibility in that. So again, your goal is pretty much to bike and run at clips slightly more aggressive than you would the Urban Legend. In worst case scenario, at the same clip that you think you would approach the Urban Legend at. And get as far into these 2 rounds as you can, if not finish them. And then the push-up, or the buyout, is the push-up ladder, again, just with 10 reps instead of 20, so 50 total. And again, just strictly volume. We are just hammering volume, muscular endurance, capacity type of training, getting through this stuff as fluently as possible as we work our way through, again, these 8 weeks of training. I would imagine there's going to be a lot of questions for this. If you guys do have questions, obviously don't hesitate to ask the other trainers. Don't hesitate ever to text me. I love answering these types of questions. And like I said, there is going to be a lot of gray area in the weighted stuff because, again, it's a very individual thing.